one thing that I really appreciate about your work, and that everybody should appreciate, is that you don't discriminate on who you're going to expose, whether it's
Well,
the Democrats, whether it's Republicans, whether it's people who call themselves progressive. Like you did your work on the Sunrise Movement, which paints themselves as this progressive organization, and here you are exposing some stuff that Paul Ryan did. Former Speaker Paul Ryan said tax filings by former Speaker Paul Ryan think tank American Idea Foundation pulled in about $8.5 million in donations for 2019, which was their first year. That's a lot of money for their first year. 7 million, over 7 million of that, 87% came from Ryan's own campaign / PAC funds. That's kind of cheating.
it seems like it.
Yeah. And then you said IIF, so American Idea Foundation, finished the year with over $8 million COH. So you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure thing. So, okay. So I'm not sure. This was kind of, it was a story for like a hot second and then it just disappeared. But late 2019, Paul Ryan started his own tax, or his own nonprofit, his own tax exempt organization, or whatever you want to call it, his own think tank called the American Idea Foundation. And it was basically just some Paul Ryan, stump speech bullshit, about how the American idea and shouldn't matter the circumstances of your birth, and about how your life turns out. And they're basically honestly, it sounded like they don't really describe what it is they do. They work with grassroots organizations to get them the type of recognition they deserve from federal representatives. It's really kind of an opaque way to describe it. They don't really describe too much of what they've done. And it's funny, a lot of these nonprofits are saying, well, you get on their website and it's like about us, and it's like literally as long as one of my articles, and they don't tell you anything about themselves. It's uncanny. I wish I could write like that. I'd be a millionaire if I could write like that. But I mean, quite honestly, he it is kind of like cheating, except here's the thing, man. It's 100% legal what he did. And so before I get, the transfer of the money, the actual transfer of the money from his campaign to his nonprofit, that was actually first reported back in, I want to say, January of 2020, because this is because the nonprofit cycle is so far behind like real life. Like if your fiscal year ends at the end of December, like a normal year, like it ends December 31st, your taxes aren't due to the IRS more than likely until about November of the following year. So 2020, that's when you got to give it up to the IRS. And then the IRS usually doesn't have it published on their website until at least 6 months later than that, which is why we're here in June 2021, just now seeing the amount of money that Paul Ryan's think tank raised back in 2019. This is old money to them now. So January 2020, fantastic political finance reporter named Lachlan Marquet, who was at Daily Beast at the time. Now he's at Axios. But he's one of the few like mainstream like campaign finance reporters I would recommend following if that type of news actually resonates with you, because he does get some really good scoops and stuff. But regardless of that, yeah, turns out the $7.4 million that he transferred, we found out at MCSC by being the first ones to view the tax records, that was pretty much all that he got. And not only that, I mean, we were able to find like $250,000 came from, again, the Charles Schwab donor advised fund. That you start to see a trend, right? There's lots of great avenues to get your donation to your favorite organization through one of those and still keep your name off of it. So we saw that again with American Idea Foundation. But yeah, most of the money came from his own campaigns and his leadership PAC. And what's even more, I'm not going to say shady, I mean, it is shady, but again, 100% legal, is that once that money was property of his think tank, it's their money now. They can use it how they see fit. And he put it directly into the stock market. So they have like $6.5 million worth of money in the market, at least at the end of 2019. And they had already made 150 grand in dividends off of that. I mean, sweet gig, right? Get a bunch of campaign money, retire from politics, open up a think tank, then put all the money in your think tank, and then deposit all that money into the market, and just sit back and pay yourself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's. I mean, now, okay, I should start by saying I actually don't think Ryan took a salary from the foundation. So I will say that. I don't think he actually took a salary. And I'm not saying that there wasn't people that did take salaries. I just don't think Ryan was one of them. Which you see that. I mean, he's got enough money. I mean, he's a very wealthy person anyway, right? So yeah, I mean, look, Paul Ryan, keep an eye out on him. Like, I think he's going to try to stay away from politics for at least another 4 years, just to give the Trump. I mean, him and Trump did not mesh, right? This next election is going to be a referendum on what the Republican Party thinks about Donald Trump, because they're going to have a choice to make. They're going to either pick a Trump loyalist as a party to put their eggs, in that basket, or they're going to have to make a break and go another direction. And I don't think, Paul Ryan would be an example of another direction, but I don't think that he would throw his hat into the ring so soon. Because quite honestly, Republicans are going to have a hard time in 2024 unless they run a really, really smart campaign and put their money behind a really smart choice for candidate. Because if it winds up being, I've said this before on other programs, if Mike Pompeo is going to come out, whether or not it's true or not, he's going to come out and position himself, and he's going to proclaim himself as the Republican frontrunner. Whether or not that's actually true, he's going to say it, and he's going to act like that until people start believing it. And now you've got Ron DeSantis, again, like, we're starting to get there, but as far as these are still pretty pro-Trump guys, right? Republican Party, I don't think the Trump story is gonna age very well. Even though, yes, Russiagate was a total hoax, and the impeachments were total bullshit, and a waste of American taxpayer dollars and time, and basically stagnated our country for 4 years. The Democrats did. So, look, there's that to be said, but again, Trump loyalism may sound cool right now because everything is still super hot from the previous election. I'm not sure if it'll be looked at the same way come election time 2024. And if the Republican Party run a pro-Trump nominee and lose, I think that'll be it for the Trumpism in the GOP. At least for, you're always going to have your Marjorie Taylor Greens and your Lauren Boeberts and stuff like that. Like, you're always going to have your extremists in any party, I feel. Except if you're a Democratic Party, you just only have extremists in rhetoric, not actually in action. But that's a discussion for another day. But, I feel like if the GOP run a pro-Trump like a Mike Pompeo loses, then I think that's when you start seeing talk about Paul Ryan coming back. The comeback of Paul Ryan for 2028. Because it'll be like, hey, we tried the Trump thing, it didn't work, so now let's go back to me, because I was traditional so cool.
thing, right?
Well, I mean, Paul Ryan for a while now, or for a while there, his reputation is, thanks to the Trump years, is nowhere. He has nowhere close to the support that he did. But during those years where he was, especially during the run with Romney, he was being put up on this pedestal as like the future of the Republican Party, like he was their golden boy for the future. And then the Trump administration happened, and it just all fell apart for him. So now he's kind of got to rebuild his reputation with Republicans, and it's going to take a while. So I mean, that's why that's what the AIF really is. It's as Lachlan mentioned in his article, it's his rehabilitation project. He's going to stay out of the eye, but still be involved behind the scenes. He just won't have to do press conferences anymore. But Paul Ryan is definitely still very much a player in today's DC. And depending, like I said, on how 2024 goes, he might even, his biggest play might still be yet to come. It just really all depends.
Yeah, and they might just settle for that too, because of how just the Republicans just detest Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's going to be Joe Biden that they're going to be running against. It might be
that's
Kamala
true.
Harris.
We
and
don't
they'll just
know.
be willing to put up with that.
I would also say watch out for Tim Scott if you're a Republican. I mean, I don't think I'm going to use air quotes when I say ready, right? I don't think he's ready, right? Or at least that the Republican Party doesn't think he's ready to be that guy yet. But yeah, they want to make a star out of Tim Scott. You can see, and that's a name that I look if you're a GOPer, and people ask, well, why does it matter? Why do I care? Well, because you have to. I mean, it's good to know what to expect here. I mean, you're sitting here. If you're a Democrat, you're practically going to have one or two choices, right? It's either going to be Biden or it's going to be Harris. It's still really early. I mean, look, because this first year of Biden is not even over yet, and it feels like it's been an eternity.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine how it feels like to Biden. You know what I mean? So I think that, the possibility is always up there that Biden decides not to run for a second term. And he might anyway, but who knows really? But I mean, your choices are pretty much going to be Biden or Harris. But if you're a Republican, you gotta find some kind of strategy here, or else you're just gonna get smashed for decades, and that may be important to people that want to make you think that's important on Twitter, for people like us, but Democratic control, Republican control. I mean, what's changed? Not much, right? But I mean, there's gonna be lots of money going around here very, very soon. The midterms are going to be super expensive. I know we always say that because they always are. But this next election, this next presidential election is going to be insane, man. I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it either.